If you're inspo tanks, and make no mistake, you've come to the right place. Just give to Neil the time to straight up blow your mind with a new show of drawing a blank.
Welcome back, everyone, to this step-by-step process of creating a meme. The first 2 episodes were all about creating our walk cycles, so now it's time to start working on our backgrounds. These characters have to have an environment to strut their stuff in, after all. Before we get started, I want to say that I was pleasantly surprised by just how many walk cycles you guys have sent me. That's fantastic! I'm so happy people are loving the project and feeling inspired to follow along. Keep going! And thank you for sharing with me. Back to our backgrounds. The original meme has a scrolling background, and we've got to create something similar. Now, I'm actually going to be creating 3 separate backgrounds for each character, and we're going to set up these backgrounds to pan like a multiplane camera. Toon Boom does actually have a multiplane camera built into the program, but for the sake of simplicity, I'm going to just be manually moving my layers. We can tackle the camera feature another time. Each of these backgrounds are going to be representative for each character, so let's get started. Starting with Dawnfrost's background, it seems only fitting that we make the time of day dawn. And she'll also be on ThunderClan territory, but near the lake, heading towards the WindClan border, with RiverClan across the lake and in the background. She's facing the rising sun as she patrols ThunderClan territory. Goldenpelt's background is a hot midsummer's day on WindClan territory. All of the colors are warm, dangerously so. The sun blazes down on him as he strides forward, and the clouds drift slowly across the sky. Spotted Shadow's background is also WindClan, but in the dead of night. The stars and moon watch her melancholy walk through WindClan. So each background is essentially going to be made up of 4 layers. The sky, being the furthest away from the camera, the horizon, the ground right beneath the character, and then the foreground, or everything in front of the characters. And since we're trying to make this look like a multiplane camera shot, we need to move each of these backgrounds at separate speeds to create the illusion of depth. If I moved the camera off to the side, you'd see how each layer is stacked apart from each other. And adding to that, if we zoom out our camera, you can see that the foreground is a much larger piece than the ground or the hills, because it's closest to the viewer, so it moves by the screen much faster. You can kind of see this yourself by moving your finger across your line of vision right in front of your eyes, versus if your arm was stretched out as far as you can. Before I get started on each of these layers, I want to start with some rough sketches and test out what my color palettes will be in Paint Tool Sci. I personally have a easier time picking out colors in Sci, which is why I paint here and then import my test background into Toon Boom to color pick directly from that. Then I can finally rough sketch the background for realsies and get started. Goldenpelt and Spotted Shadow's backgrounds are actually fairly simple. Thanks StarClan for WindClan. But Dawnfrost's background took a little extra work since I wanted to see ThunderClan's trees in the foreground and show the lakeshore tide moving in and out. It's roughly a 6-frame loop for the water, and you'll probably barely notice it, but I like the little extra life it brings to the environment. I did add a different but similar trick with Goldenpelt's background by having the clouds move slightly in the background. Just a little something to make the background feel more alive. If I had all the time in the world, it would be fun to add a small breeze rustling the grass, or a few extra flares like that. But we don't want the backgrounds to become distracting from what we should be focusing on, the characters. Now that we have all of these separate elements, it's time to make them move. In Toon Boom, we can zoom out our camera and set keyframes at different points in our timeline that will tell this layer to move from point A to point B. With these tools up here, I can tell the image to move, rotate, scale, skew, or any combinations of these things, so long as I set up my keyframes. To do this, all I have to do is select my layer, select what tool I want to use, go to the first frame of the timeline where I want the movement to start, and then hit this keyframe button. Then I can move the art where it needs to be for this first frame. And I just do all that again for the last frame. play back your animation, and it should work. We have to do this for each separate background layer to make sure that it's moving at the correct speed, and then do this process again for each different background. But, like I mentioned before with the walk cycles, it should be easier to do it now once we already have the template from doing it the first time. And practice makes perfect. I'm also going to add a blur effect to help push that idea of depth. In Toon Boom, I can create a blur effect just by attaching a blur module onto my layers, and so long as I have the render view turned on and I'm on the camera tab, I can see how my final shot will look. By the end of this, my network is going to look a little crazy, but that's why it's important to stay organized. And once we have all that worked out and we make sure there's not any weird shenanigans going on, we can look at our test final shots for the walking animations. Yay! We're getting there! Now, walk cycles and backgrounds aren't the end for us. We still have to create portraits for each character, and when that's all said and done, we've got to edit this whole thing together. So join me back here next week as we draw some portraits for our soldier, poet, and king. Until then, please stay inspired. The end of another episode! We keep getting closer and closer to the final product of this animation meme, and I'm so glad y'all are on this journey with me. Normally, this would be the time where I answer one of my patrons' questions, but today I've actually got a few announcements. Starting this week, Sean and I are going to be bringing you more art content. Yay! On Monday, Sean is going to be doing a stream on my channel called Poke Monday with Sean, where he'll be, you guessed it, drawing Pokemon. I'll be hanging out with him on stream, and we can answer some of your questions as Sean continues his quest to draw all the Pokemon. I'm so glad Sean is picking up this mantle, because I love his Pokemon art, and y'all ask me to draw Pokemon all the time, and I'm just gonna be real with y'all for a hot second. I am not good at drawing Pokemon. Like, I'm so bad. It's sad, really. But that's not the only new drawing content you guys are getting. Starting Wednesdays are going to be Warriors/Wings of Fire Wednesdays. I get comments all the time to do more Warriors and Wings of Fire designs, and I want to, and I've realized that there is no way I could ever fit them all into Drawing a Blank episodes. So, what I've decided to do instead is do a little mini speed paint series for my designs. The videos won't have commentary over them, and they'll be very short, just a minute and a half of me drawing a specific canon warrior or Wings of Fire character. Don't worry, this doesn't mean that they won't ever show up for Drawing a Blank. On the contrary, this just means you'll be getting more Battle Cats or dragon designs. I hope you guys like this new mini speed paint show, and continue to look forward to Drawing a Blank as well. Thank you all for the support. Have a fantastic day.